It looks like the government plans to ban gay conversion therapy could be ditched amid concerns that the draft bill could have unintended consequences for parents and teachers dealing with trans children. So Boris Johnson pledged to end the discredited practice during the 2019 election, but yesterday, Commons leader Penny Mordaunt dodged answering questions about whether the commitment to implement the ban will be met. It's worth noting, when it comes to Penny Mordaunt, that she actually in the past has courted a bit of controversy amongst Conservative voters by saying, trans women are women. So I don't really think this can be accused of being a Penny Mordaunt transphobic thing, particularly, to be honest with you. But should the government be delaying the ban on gay conversion therapy? And what could the issues be at home if you, say, have a 12 or 13-year-old son or daughter who starts to say that they're questioning the body that they're born into? As a parent, if you say, I don't think you need medication for that, maybe you should see some therapy, would you then be a criminal? I don't think you can be a criminal for doing that, surely. But joining me now is Peter Tatchell, LGBTQ activist and director of the Peter Tatchell Foundation. Peter, thank you very much. Look, your overall take on whether or not this banning of gay conversion therapy should be delayed, scrapped, what's going on?
Well, first let me say that the ban on conversion therapy, which is the attempt to change someone's sexual orientation or gender identity, was first promised by Theresa May way back in July 2018. And it has been repeatedly reiterated and reconfirmed by successive leaders ever since. Even just in March this year, Penny Mordaunt did promise the legislation would come forward and be in the King's Speech in November. Now the government appears to have ditched that. It is going against all the advice from the world's leading medical, psychiatric and counselling organisations. They all say that these practices are abusive, unethical, harmful, and they don't work. Now, to answer your point, I think it is very, very unclear as to what the supposed unintended consequences are, because there are safeguards. 25 countries have already banned conversion therapy. The Australian state of Victoria has a model example of legislation which is working very, very well, where none of these anxieties or fears have materialised. And we could simply cherry pick that and make some very minor amendments, and it would work well for Britain. So why the hell is there?
I think the concern is that, let's say I had a 13-year-old son, and that son came home and said, Dad, I think I've been born into the wrong body. And I said, look, I think maybe you're going through a bit of a phase, or let's explore this. Is there an underlying issue here? Or do you want to go and see a therapist? That then might make me a criminal.
Well, none of the proposed legislations or the existing legislations anywhere in the world allow for that. They all give the parents the right to talk to their children about it and to question their decision. So that is an unfounded fear. And I think, just be reassured, there are 25 countries, not just states in Australia and the US, but also Canada, New Zealand, France, a very long list where the ban has worked well and parental rights have not been usurped.
What goes on at gay conversion therapy?
Well, there are many different forms. The traditional form is a psychiatrist or psychologist will seek to persuade, sometimes pressure, a young person to change their sexuality or gender identity. But it can include quite abusive treatments, including...
It does work for some people, though, Peter, doesn't it? Some people do have gone through it and stand by it. So some people for whom they feel, especially if they've got extremely strident religious views, and they feel as though, in a fundamentalist sense, that their sexuality may well contradict their religion. Sometimes people go through it and they swear by it, though, don't they?
Well, it's a very, very tiny minority, and I've got to say that most of those people have since subsequently been caught out continuing to be gay and have same-sex relationships. They've been exposed for pretending or proclaiming that they've changed, but they actually haven't. Yeah. But never mind, even so, the therapies have been exposed in reports as being very abusive and psychologically damaging. People who undergo conversion therapy tend to have very high levels of anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. And I know friends of mine from many years ago who went through some of these conversion therapies, and they were not cured, but they were made a psychological and emotional wreck. They had a nervous breakdown. So I think it's a very bad practice to pursue, and we should follow the leading psychiatrists, medical experts, and counsellors who say the practice is wrong.
Oh, look, Peter, thank you very, very much. It's interesting stuff. It's actually kind of, for once, a story that I don't have personal, strong views on, so it's quite nice to have a chat with you about it. Peter Tatchell, LGBTQ activist and director of the Peter Tatchell Foundation.